Yeah, so this hot water heater has to go. The crazy thing is, not only do you hear it right now as it's kind of blurbing through everything. This is Davin's Random, and today I'm getting rid of this hot water heater finally. Most likely that sound is caused by silt being built up in it. I flush this thing like once or twice a year, but it's still not enough. We have a ghost in here, so this stupid temperature control keeps turning down on its own. So after 2 days of use, we always put it on A, and this is where it should be just on average. This is usually where it ends up, on this dot. So yeah, this thing's got issues, and it really does need to go. And I just want to get rid of gas in here. Gas dryer is okay, and the gas dryer will stay, but just the fact that we have to have that pipe, vents on the door because of that pipe, I want all this to go away because it gets to like 110 degrees here in the summer and this room gets roasting. And I'd really rather not have a super roasting room. I'd like to have it insulated and cool. Plus it's a cat tower, which doesn't help, and I don't like that at all. Now, this laundry room is a total disaster, so I'm going to install an electric hot water heater, but the first thing I need to do is reorganize this so it's a better space, because what's going to happen is this dryer will move to where this hot water heater is. I got to clean up these gas lines because this is a mess over here. So I have to plug this line back here. Luckily it's got a shut-off valve right there. But I don't like it hitting the washer either. That's always really bothered me. And that means the dryer needs to be moved over. I got to extend the dryer tube on the back. Here's another cat in case you didn't see him, because he's like camouflage on black clothes. And then I need to reorganize this. This room is just so weird, and it's such a pain in the ass. But anyway, let me show you what I'm dealing with. So my water lines, as you can see, come in from the ceiling. And basically the hot water line, which is this line here, goes out up into the ceiling, across, over, then across the house, all the way to the bathroom, which is over there. So the sink is over here, and it has its own line that kind of goes up the wall in the back and then comes around right over here. So I'm going to install this Rheem Tankless hot water heater. This is a 13 kilowatt hot water heater, and I think this will be perfect for this because, as I said, I live in Phoenix, so our groundwater temperature is at its absolute coldest, probably 65 degrees in the winter, and during the summer it's a lot warmer than that. It's probably somewhere in around 90, 100, so I'm not exactly sure, but it's a lot of times during the summer, you don't even need hot water to take a shower. Let me put it to you that way. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and install this, and I'm going to show you how to do it. The only thing that I've done so far was put these Shark Bite 1/2 inch copper tubing connectors and an elbow on here. So I started planning this last night so I could measure the distance between these two lines. So basically what's going to happen is it's going to go over here. But like I said, I need to clean all this stuff up first. I think I'm going to mount it on the wall over there because, like I said, the hot water lines come up in here. They go across to that corner and then over. So if I install this there in that corner, either on this wall or this wall, then what's going to happen is that's equal distance between the kitchen sink and the shower. So it's like right in between the two. The problem with electric hot water heaters is the closer that they're installed to the source, the hotter they are at that source. Not exactly a big deal, but in my last townhouse that we owned, we had a 2-story townhouse, and the hot water heater was outside the kitchen window, just like this. So it would have been installed like where this old milk box is, but on the outside. And I put a Titan 120N tankless hot water heater in there, and I like those hot water heaters. I think they're actually pretty good. About the same performance as this Rheem that I got. I could buy this locally, so that's the reason why I bought it. But anyway, I installed it with that distance to the sink, and the problem was at the sink, it was boiling hot, like stupid crazy hot. But then by the time it got all the way to the bathroom, which was upstairs, and we had a shower that was on the other side of the house, I had to go through 40 feet of plumbing to get there. By the time it did that, then at that end, it was just kind of hot-ish. Like, you could take a hot shower, but you just wish it was just a little bit hotter. You know, it was one of those moments. So anyway, this should be installed kind of an equal distance between everything. So mapping out my plumbing over here, I discovered that this is where the water line comes in, goes to the hot water heater that you just saw right there, and then goes to the kitchen sink and everything right here. So this is the best place to install it, or here, and then just bridge it across. That way, this distance and this distance going back is about the same. Let me reorganize and get this thing cleaned up first, and then we'll go from there. I just tightened these down with a wrench, and so I've got 13.5 to there, and they're pretty even on both sides, so everything should be centered. So I'm going to go ahead and mark my spot on the wall, and then we'll hang this puppy up. Little level, need a little level. Okay, and I have a pen right here. So I'm going to just put my level on the top of this, since it has a line. Now it'll tell me exactly where I need to be. Tape would have been helpful, but I would have to forward think to use tape to hold this up. Anyway, from here, now what I'm going to do is I already marked the center on the template, so I'm going to measure from the wall to the center of the template, which is about 10 and 8. So then I'm going to go up the wall and mark 10 and 8, because my plumbing is going to go into the ceiling. Now I said this was 13.5 inches wide, so I'm going to put that in the center, which is going to be 6 3/4. I'm ready to install this thing, I think. Now the only down thing is this doesn't come with any hanging hardware, so I had to dig through my nuts and bolts to find some. So we're just using some very basic anchors here, nothing too crazy, with some Phillips screw heads. This should be all I need. The rest of my anchors should just go right in. I don't have to screw these all the way down, leaving about 1/4 of an inch out. Not exactly practical, but I'm going to use a stepper bit. And I can go in to about almost the bottom, and it should be good. Not exactly meant for drywall, but it'll work for what I want to do. Guess I should have waited to put everything back on the shelf. Going in the attic, the creepy dark attic. Where the light is actually where I'm at. So I don't have to get in here too far from the opening, but I just wanted to show you guys this. So this is the main line coming in, 3/4 pipe. This is the hot pipe, hot water going to both ends of the house. And then this is a cold line going back to the bathroom. Now I'm debating, do I tap into this cold line for my water feed for the hot water heater, or do I do it on the main line? I can't decide. There are my holes. This one's for the power cord. This one's for the plumbing. But here's my water lines. So I just have to bridge those over. My power line is going to come in right over there in the eave, and then I'll just drag it across here and drop it down. So I have to make a quick elbow. I was trying to do shark bites for all this, but I only have 4 elbows, and now that I know that I need to go under the one water line and then over, so I need to put one elbow in here. Turns out I still have one that's not used amazingly enough that I need to solder together. So I'm going to go ahead and do that really quick. And just make a super quick solder joint. And this one's going to be the hot line. So as long as we know that, it's not a big deal. That way you don't have any blockages. Now the other thing too is once I make this joint, I have to wash it, because with tankless hot water heaters you don't want any particulates getting in there that don't need to be there. So you gotta sand up your joints. The white jar is flux, and it takes a lot of flux to create a good soldering joint. So what you do is you sand first, rub flux all over what you sanded, which is like bearing grease, and then the solder just sucks into the joint. And there you go. I think that's a pretty good solder. Looks like I got in there all the way around. Everything is now rinsed and ready to go together. Good times. Oh yeah, having fun in the attic. So I connected the T to my hot water line and then did my elbow down here, coming across to the line coming through. And it's all tight and square, so I think I'm good. Now I just have to do the cold water line right there. I still have not decided. Do I tap it into the big one, or do I do it in the little one? Okay, it's all connected and it's leak free. So I just pulled the cover off, and there's actually water running through it right now. So lines are hooked up and open. I just wanted to make sure that there is no internal leaking in the unit or anything. I almost forgot to mention the way these covers come off is when you undo the screws on the bottom, you pull it up that way. And so when you put it back on, you put it back that way, because it kind of hooks in and closes. But anyway, so now what I have to do is run 6-gauge wire coming out that hole to loop into the bottom here. And it's just going to go across the ceiling here. This is my old circuit breaker. Isn't that lovely? One of these days I got to rebuild that. Anyway, done some time ago. This is actually where my meter is, just right outside the door. So I'm only going to run maybe 10 feet of wire, somewhere around there. But opening up this sad breaker box, I still have 2 spots that are open. So I'm going to go ahead and open this up and pry those out and install a breaker and the electrical line going up. Made a hole, so I guess that's a start. This is 6-gauge wire. This is even heavier duty wire than the stove. I think the stove's only 8, but yeah, now I just gotta pull that through to the other side. So I just pulled this wire through. Man, that was a pain in the ass. Anyway, I opted to go into the 3/4 line and down. It just made more sense. So now I gotta stuff this wire through that hole that I made right here, and then I can go down and start connecting things. The instructions on this are really vague. They're just like hook wire up. Okay. All they tell you is that you need 6-gauge wire and a 60 amp breaker, and so we got that. We're doing a 6-gauge 2-wire Romex, and that should be it. I'll find out if it works or not. But I'm going to go into time-lapse mode so you don't have to see me electrocute myself in case I do. The last bit. So just a little quick disclaimer. I just want to let you guys know that I am not a licensed an electrician or plumber, although I have done a lot of home remodeling in my time. This video is just to show you guys how I installed what I did, and just keep that in mind. So if you decide to do this on your own, this is your own responsibility, because I'm just here to entertain you. But anyway, let's go see what the final product looked like. I have the water set to 110. So I wanted to check the temperature. Let's see how close this is. Oh, 109.5. Okay, looks like it's pretty accurate. Sweet. It's a week later, and man, does this room look so much better. Just such a better use of space. Getting rid of that gigantic hot water heater, I was so happy about that. I still have to paint those things. But anyway, there it is. And here's what it looks like running. So the final temperature that we did after testing is 120 degrees. This hot water heater goes up to 140. So, you know, it's more than adequate for what I needed it for, but 120 seems to be about perfect. There was a few things that I got wrong with this install. One of the main things was up in the attic, I got these lines reversed. So I actually had to go back up there and reverse them. Luckily, because I did the shark bite connectors, I just undid everything and then redid it to the other side. So it was very easy to do, but man, I felt stupid about that. Now, wiring this thing is very poorly written in the manual. I think they make reference to a smaller hot water heater that's like a 110 install. So they tell you that you have, you know, black is live and white is neutral and then ground, which is true. But this is 240. So then they tell you wire it to breaker L2 and L2, and they only show you 2 wire connections, no diagrams or anything like that. Just good luck. So yeah, really poorly written. But anyway, here's actually how you wire it. It's very simple. So basically 2 lines going into the only 2 connections in here in the box, and then you have a ground, and then 2 lines going to the circuit breaker outside, and then you ground that. It's actually really simple to install. Just make sure you have the right circuit breaker, 60 amp, and 6-gauge wire. Now going back to the wiring inside the box, there's an area where there should be a tie down, and they didn't put an extra tie down in the package. So I don't understand why they did that. This thing comes with no hardware. The only hardware that you have are the brass connectors right here, and that's it. One thing I forgot to mention was that it's a really good idea to install an inline filter on your line in coming into the house. So this is just a full-size filter. I use carbon filters in it. It removes a lot of the silt and sediment that comes in. Here in Phoenix we have a lot of lime in the water, so we get a lot of hard water buildup, and this kind of eliminates it from building up at the faucet heads and reduces how much will actually build up in the new tankless hot water heater. But they still get hard water buildup and they still need to be cleaned out just like everything else. So this just makes it last longer in between intervals. When you choose a hot water heater, you need to think about what your appliances are doing. So in this case, like I have this Vigo, I guess is how you'd say it, Vigo sink that we got from Home Depot, and it's just a big farm sink, and it came with this faucet. And I looked this up before I bought it. So this faucet head, which is a pull-down style faucet, this has a flow rate of 1.8 gallons per minute, which is perfect because the hot water heater is 2.1 gallons per minute. And so this, running it at full hot water, all the way turned on, gets to full temperature. So that's good. Now, going into the bathroom, this is the other thing you have to consider is what shower head do you have. So in this case, I have got a Delta, and this is 1.75 gallons per minute. And so this also reaches full capacity. I haven't experienced it with this unit, but in the past, at my old house, when I had an electric hot water heater, I did notice that the upstairs bath, the one that was farthest away, never really got to full temperature. So now is with the valve all the way open. If you back the valve off about a quarter of the way, then I would get full temperature. And the reason why is because it has to push the water so far that it doesn't have the throughput to get there. So if you're experiencing that, then your hot water heater should technically be installed closer to the source. But in this case, it's perfect. Now eventually I plan on adding on a second bathroom. So when that happens, I'm actually going to add on a second hot water heater to that bathroom because it's going to be so far away that there's no reason to put it here. The other misconception is you don't get instant hot water when you turn the faucet on. I do right now because I've been running this. But in reality, it takes the same amount of time as a tank hot water heater does to get to you because it has to go through the system. And really, a gallon of water has to go through it before it heats up. So, you know, expect 10-second delays before hot water reaches the source where it's supposed to be, just like a regular hot water heater. So far, this has been very reliable, 20 showers, no problem. Anyway, I hope you guys like this video. Give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment, subscribe to my channel for more information like this, and we'll talk to you guys later. See ya.